Hi, I'm Butch, and I like to make ball-jointed dolls and their accessories. As someone who lives with two active Monster High doll collectors, I know how hard it is to find a good posable body that fits your G1 clothing, so I'm going to share how I made one. When I start building a ball-jointed figure, I always prepare all my beads first. I'll also build long tubes to be used inside arms and legs. It doesn't really matter what method you use to make beads. If you're curious, I've got mine in my playlist. You'll need all your joint beads finished up so that you can wrap them in aluminum foil so nothing sticks to them as you bake. Using the beads that you made or exact copies of those beads are necessary for having a snug joint fit. Building a core to slowly and lightly build up on also makes the process a lot easier, and I find that the polymer clay doesn't crack as badly. When making a core, you always make it a lot smaller because you'll add layer after layer to get to the finished desired size you want. Polymer clay really does like to be baked at thin layers, less than a quarter-inch. And with each layer, we'll make sure we coat the piece with Bacon Bond before we attach any new clay. Because all clays shrink as they cure, doing it in small layers helps prevent deformities, giving us a really nice tight socket. One of my favorite reasons for actually making an articulated doll using a ball jointed method is because when you make a ball jointed doll, half the parts, almost always mathematically, are beads. So almost everything starts with a good form for a socket around that bead. Which brings us to the other half of the parts we need to make, which end up just being tubes with little spots that are good to hold beads. One favorite way for me to keep my symmetry between parts is to do my parts at the same time. If I'm working on the left forearm, I'll work on the right forearm at exactly the same time, and I cut the parts to be exactly the same for the same parts left and right. I found this process to work so good that I not only use it in the arms and legs, I do it in the hands, the fingers, the feet, even when I'm working on the face, working on one half versus the other. Now when I make my characters, I use Sculpey 3 and Sculpey Primo mixed in a combination of 1/3 Sculpey 3 translucent mixed with 1/3 Sculpey Primo translucent and 1/3 Sculpey white Primo. Now the reason I'm mentioning the brand is I haven't had luck using just any polymer clay to do this. When polymer clay heats up, it shrinks. So whenever I put a formed part on a bar, I always make sure I drill it out a little bigger so that when it shrinks, it doesn't break or crack because of the bar that's in the center. But if it's been baked on that bar, it's fine to be on that bar because it won't shrink any smaller than the size of that diameter. Now I had thought about putting movable toes in her feet. It's not the first time I've done it to a doll I've built, but I wanted to make sure that she could fit into the Generation 1 shoes without having any incidences. Now hands on the other hand, they were definitely good to get moving fingers. It is my most preferred way to join my elastics from one end to the other. And let's face it, if you could make the hands open and close, why wouldn't you? One of the great benefits of being able to work on left parts and right parts is when I put a new piece of clay down on something I've already formed and I'm waiting for the Bacon Bond to kind of stick up and not be slidey, I have the other one that I had already just done it to that I can go back and work on. That way as you progress on the right side part and you put it down and you start working on the left side part, you progress to the same spot. It helps keep everything the same and as identical as you could possibly make it. Once we get all our parts made, we've actually made it to the middle of our doll build. Now we'll have to cut slots in the hips, knees, elbows, and shoulder beads. These passages allow the elastic to move down as we rotate the arm or leg into a position. For my second year on YouTube, I decided to up the ante on how I built my figures and make them look more complicated, but actually made them even easier to build. Something I like about polymer clay is that you can drill it out easily with a hand drill, which is good because there's a fair amount of it. Before I drill out the parts and they're still on the bar, I like to stretch out the elastic to figure how long the tension is going to need to be. One of the things I do like about the new way I build my ball jointed dolls is as you build a leg, the leg's complete. As you build an arm, the arm's complete, the torso is complete. So you get to work in these stages that are very simple, which makes this method of building a ball jointed doll very beginner friendly. Now, if you are one of these people who would like to give their hand a try making one of these monster high ball jointed bodies, don't you fret. I have a long form tutorial coming very shortly. Because my cost to build this body once it was all said and done was actually under $13. When cutting your slots, you're going to want to make them as tight as you possibly can. That way, when the elastic moves around, it'll help keep the joint stable. Then it's just a matter of stringing it together like a candy necklace. And in the simplest, most functional way to finish off stringing up that elastic. And now that she's all complete, let's check her out and compare her against an actual Monster High body. Now, I did tweak some of her measurements and stuff for the body to work properly, and one of them you're going to notice right off the hop is her knees aren't exactly where her other knees are. Her other dimensional changes fall far within the parameter that she still fits all the G1 clothing. Including this figure's hands, we've gone from the original 11 points, 12 points of articulation up to 24 points of articulation for this figure, with the ability to open and close hands and hold on to things. And adding a lot more flexibility to the waist is going to give us a lot more natural positioning ability. Now, one of the reasons I moved her knees is I wanted to be able to give her a lot more natural posing. And because I couldn't take the hands off to put her arms into jackets, it was easier to make it so the arms came off. And even when the body part is off, it's still strung and still functional. Try that with a lot of other ball jointed bodies. Now, proof that she fits in the G1 clothes. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like, maybe that subscribe, and hit notify so you know when a tutorial comes out. Thanks for watching. Maybe check out one of these other videos I have up.